and welcome to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keith in the studios of our flagship station, Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. In addition today, as always, also joining us on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99 in the Birmingham Bloomfield area is Birmingham Area Municipal Access, or BAMA. Also joining us on that channel in Southfield is City Cable 15 of Southfield. Other community television stations also joining us each and every day include Orion Neighborhood Television, or ONTV, located out there serving Lake Orion and Orion Township, where living is a vacation. And then on Waterford's Media Network of Waterford on Channel 10 out there in the city as well. You can also find us on the radio in the Birmingham, Bloomfield, and Troy area on 88.1 WBFH, the BIF. That is the service of the Bloomfield Hills School District. Find us online on civiccentertv.com. Click on our Watch Live link at the top of our homepage on your computer web browser, or in the left margin of your screen on the drop-down menu on your mobile phone. You can also find us online on our Facebook pages, facebook.com/CivicCenterTV15 and facebook.com/LakesFM. And then you can find us on My Michigan TV as well, broadcasting live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, including usually during our live shows here from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, Monday through Friday, on mymytv.com. That is MYMITV.com. And there you can also subscribe for free for Michigan programming from Michigan content creators all across the state about a number of different topics here in Michigan, and find where you can download the MyTV app on your smartphone and on your smart TV. Places like the iOS App Store, the Android App Store, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Samsung Smart TV, Apple TV, and more. Again, that is mymytv.com, MYMITV.com. My as in possessive my as in MI, the initials for the Great Lakes State here in Michigan, TV as in television.com. And if you can't remember all of those different consonants and vowels that go into that website, you can just click on the link on our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast. There we have links to all of our partnering community television, radio, and web outlets all throughout Oakland County and across the state of Michigan. And you can find out more about what they do in the other 22 hours of the day. If you want to learn more about MyTV's Steve Leto live program that airs from noon to 1 after our live shows Monday through Friday, you can click on the My Michigan TV link on civiccentertv.com/megacast. If you want to learn more about some of the great student broadcasters that are doing their regular shows weekly, Monday through Friday, from 3 p.m. all the way up to 9 p.m. at 88.1 WBFH, you can click on the 88.1 The Biff FM link, and that will take you to their website where you can listen live, and you can also find out more about all of their great student programming that they do throughout the regular week. And then also on our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast. That is where you will find links to all of our programming as well from here on the Megacast, dating all the way back to March of 2020. When Dave, Scott, and I were definitely 6 feet apart in our previous studio. You can find all of our interviews by clicking Watch Full Interviews, or all of our full episodes, and if you want to go on a 2-hour marathon every single day alongside of us on your own time, by clicking on Watch Full Episodes. And then at the bottom, if you have a topic that you think would be interesting for us to talk about, or somebody or some program that you think would be really interesting for us to highlight on this show in one of our interviews, go ahead and send us a message by filling out that form at the bottom of the page under Talk to the Megacast Team. We want to hear from you. We absolutely do. Give your name, your email address, the subject, and then tell us a little bit about the person or the people or the project you would like us to talk to, and we'll do our best to reach out to them and try to get them on the show. And then over at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, that is where we have arguably the most important information that you need each and every day about COVID-19, from reliable resources from experts on the front lines of this pandemic, from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division, where you can find their specific COVID-19 pages and get information about the spread of COVID-19, the different variants of COVID-19 and how they are different from one another. What's the difference between the UK variant, the B117, or the Alpha variant, and the Delta variant that we've heard so much about in the last couple of months during this most recent surge here in the state of Michigan. You can learn that information from the Centers for Disease Control, the state of Michigan's Health and Human Services Department, and the Oakland County Health Division. In Oakland County, on the Oakland County Health Division's page, that's also where you can get in contact with their nurse on call hotline, email line, and text line. And just about midway down the page under their quick links, you can go to their vaccine hub, which is also on oaklandcountyvaccine.com, to sign up for getting vaccinated if you haven't already, or getting a booster shot if you are eligible for one and are in a group that probably should be considering getting a booster shot to continue your immunity and increase your immunity from severe effects of COVID-19. There, if you want to do your own research, so to speak, go and take from these experts and their research. That's a great starting point. They will be able to give you accurate information, peer-reviewed information that also provides context of what you're reading, because we're not all scientists, we're not all virologists, we're not all epidemiologists or medical doctors. We don't always know what the context is behind a lot of this information, a lot of these studies that we may be viewing on COVID-19, on the spread of the virus, on precautionary tactics, on the vaccines. These experts do know that and will be able to provide you that information so that you can make informed decisions based off of accurate research and accurate information, especially if you're getting it from the internet where there is so much garbage. Go to a place where there is no garbage. civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. We also have our top stories each and every day there. We post before the show, and it is sometimes a great effort, but we love to do it because it not only keeps you informed, but it also promotes the great work of many of our local journalists at so many publications across the state of Michigan. And our top headline today, as we continue to have more issues amounting with the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. This is from Bridge Michigan Magazine. A report released this week is adding to the chorus of those who question whether the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission's draft maps comply with the Voting Rights Act that protects minority voters. The report by Michigan State University's Institute for Public Policy and Social Research calls the process quote-unquote unusual and claims it used incomplete data to draw districts and disperse Detroit's black voters into districts that stretched from the city into the suburbs. The report arrived days after the panel hosts its second round of public hearings, which began Wednesday in Detroit, and as African-American voters and leaders push back on the commission's drafts. Michigan currently has 17 black majority districts, 2 in Congress, 5 in the state Senate, and 10 in the state House of Representatives. But in the 10 proposed maps released by the commission last week, only one district would have a voting age population of more than 50% African American. John Aguirre, the economics professor at Michigan State University and the report's lead author, told Bridge Michigan Magazine the commission, quote unquote, overcorrected what had previously, quote unquote, packed African American districts in Metro Detroit. Packing often refers to concentrating many voters of one type, often minorities or members of a political party, into single districts to minimize their overall influence. Quote, the commission has looked with aversion to communities that truly, naturally, have a lot of citizens that identify as black and said, we don't want those communities to be a district. We're going to break those majorities, finding non-blacks wherever we can find them, in close quote, Aguirre said. Aguirre continued on, that's an unusual approach to things, end closed quote. The report comes atop complaints from African-American leaders and political pollsters about the process and its impact on minority voters. Quote, with proposed redistricting maps that dilute the voices of voters of color, I worry that future candidates for office who look like me will not have a seat at the table, said State Representative Tanisha Yancey, a Democrat from Detroit. She continued on, quote, they will be forced to run for office in communities that are unwelcoming to them, end closed quote. Democrats, Republicans, and others have called on constituents to flood the public meetings with public comments. The Detroit caucus of the Michigan legislature is organizing a Black Voters Matter rally at 12:30 p.m. Wednesday at the TCF Center, or previously known as Cobo Hall, in Detroit ahead of the commission's 1 p.m. meeting there. The criticism comes despite efforts by the 13-member redistricting panel to pay special attention to the voices of minorities and other quote-unquote communities of interest in drawing districts. The commission was created by voters in 2018 after Michigan for decades allowed the party in power in the legislature to draw political boundaries after a decennial census, a process that led to gerrymandering that benefited Republicans after the previous census. The redistricting panel, made up of civilians, has also paid close attention to Voting Rights Act that is designed to allow minority groups to elect candidates of their choosing, communities of interest, and partisan fairness. The commission has followed the advice of Bruce Adelson, a voting rights attorney, and Lisa Handley, a partisan fairness expert, who contend districts don't have to be more than 50% minority to ensure they have a strong vote. They have suggested to a lower threshold. But Aguirre of MSU said that estimating how black voters will vote in the future is complicated. Quote, the commission has taken the work by their consultant, Dr. Lisa Handley, as if it were completely right and infallible, Aguirre said. He continued on, and as a social scientist, we know that it's not that the work is bad. The work is the best you can do, but it's based on very poor data because we don't have good data about primaries, end close quote. Aguirre's research also claimed that 6 of the 10 maps are incomplete. There are precincts made up of a range of 13 to 3,204 residents that have yet to be assigned to a district, according to his report. He said assigning those residents to a district is important, but also is an easy fix. Edward Woods III, the communications director for the commission, told Bridge, Michigan on Tuesday the analysis done by Michigan State University, quote, did not correspond with the data used by the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. We verified and checked again yesterday, and all U.S. Census blocks were assigned, end closed quote. These trends in Michigan are following a trend in other places as well. Attorneys who talked to Bridge, Michigan said they've seen a trend across the country of states, quote-unquote, cracking majority-minority districts by dividing minority voters into multiple districts. In Texas, Latino groups said they'll challenge the state's maps on those groups. In Virginia, activists said Democrats have tried to create districts where black voters don't have to be the majority as long as they can create a coalition with white voters to elect their candidates of choice. Steve Lance, the policy counsel at the NAACP's Legal Defense Fund, warned about breaking up these majority-minority districts. Quote, in most cases, these districts were drawn as a result of litigation brought by black voters or Latino voters or Asian American voters, Lance told Bridge, Michigan. He continued on, and once a district like this is gone, it will be gone. It would require new litigation in order to bring it back, end closed quote. Michael Lee, the senior counsel for the Brennan Center for Justice's Democracy Program, told Bridge, Michigan, lowering the number of minority voters in a district is not always bad. Quote, the reality is black voters are very politically cohesive, Lee said. He continued on, if they vote cohesively, their candidates might get elected in districts that are below 50% black. You might actually increase black representation by doing this. So there continues to be complications in the process of redistricting with this Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission, this 13-member commission made up of Democrats, Republicans, and independents, all citizens of the state of Michigan, none of which are quote-unquote political operatives in this case. This is the first time that they've run through this. There are sure to be hiccups along the way, but there are also major discrepancies that are being discovered in the first set of these maps. Again, these are preliminary maps. The public comment portion of this process is open once again for these specific maps before they finalize anything, and you are definitely encouraged to have your voice heard. Other stories making headlines at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. A cat in Ingham County is the first in Michigan to contract COVID-19. A cat from Ingle County is the first confirmed feline case of SARS-CoV-2 in the state of Michigan. The cat had close contact with its owners, who had a confirmed case of COVID about a week before the cat became ill. The domestic short-haired cat was tested after it began to sneeze. The cat has recovered. As of October 18th, there have been 257 confirmed cases of SARS-CoV-2 in animals throughout the United States, including 99 cats since the start of the pandemic, according to state officials. The possibility is very low of animals spreading the virus to humans, according to Michigan officials. Quote, COVID-19 mainly spreads from person to person through respiratory droplets from coughing, sneezing, and talking, said Dr. Natasha Bagdasarian, Michigan's new chief medical executive, in a news release. Dr. Bagdasarian continued on, protecting pets begins by taking precautions to protect yourself by getting one of the safe and effective COVID-19 vaccines, and closed quote. Testing is recommended for animals with recent exposure to a person suspected or confirmed to have COVID-19. Signs of SARS-CoV-2 in animals include fever, sneezing, coughing, nasal discharge, eye discharge, vomiting, and or diarrhea. So definitely, if you have been exposed to COVID-19 or your pets potentially have been exposed to someone who has a confirmed case of COVID-19, may be a good idea to consult with your veterinarian about getting them tested, especially if they are displaying symptoms. Definitely if they are displaying symptoms. In this article from the Detroit News on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Lastly, making headlines today here in Oakland County, further testing will be conducted at homes and businesses near Oakland County International Airport, where PFAS was detected. The Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy has collected drinking water well samples from 27 homes and businesses as part of Oakland County Airport and Pontiac Lake State Recreation Area per polyfluoroalkyl substance, or PFAS, investigation. Details were conveyed September 21st during a public Michigan PFAS Action Response Team meeting. PFAS is a dangerous chemical once used in many consumer products as well as industrial firefighting foams. As of September 21, there were 184 known PFAS sites statewide. This looks a lot like quote, "This looks like a lot of sites for Michigan," said Abigail Hendershot, MPART's executive director. She continued on, "It's really more than that Michigan is looking for PFAS. We're actually taking a methodical, diligent look across our entire state to understand where do we have groundwater contamination that exceeds those standards," and closed quote. In May, a consultant for the airport located in Waterford Township collected 8 samples in 12-foot deep groundwater. On June 2nd, an Eagle contractor collected drinking water samples from 12 of the 24 homes listed and businesses. In the first phase of residential well sampling, PFAS was detected in 11 of those wells. On June 24th, the airport's consultant submitted groundwater test results that began in April. 6 of the 8 samples collected exceeded groundwater cleanup criteria for PFAS, with the highest result being 4,800 parts per trillion for PFOS, another group of man-made chemicals. On August 5th, Eagle's contractor collected samples from 16 homes in the second phase of residential well sampling. All 16 wells had PFAS, including 5 wells exceeding state limits. Kevin Wojciechowski, leading the site investigation for Eagle, said the use of aqueous film-forming foam, a fire suppressant used to extinguish flammable liquid fires, was first detailed in 1965. Quote, "From 1965 to 1996, there's no records of the use, where they used it, how much they used it." And he said, and continued on, "We don't know what happened in those years," and closed quote. Eagle says that between 96 and 2019, foam was used in 7 incidents on airport property, including an accidental release during nozzle certification in March of 2020. Bill Mullen, Media and Communications Officer for Oakland County Executive David Coulter, said October 11th that no other updates exist aside from more testing. Quote, "We're continuing to look into expanding this search area," said Wojciechowski, "including sampling 1 mile north, 1 mile south, and half a mile both east and west from the airport's edges." William Farrell, a toxicologist with the State Department of Health and Human Services, Said exposure to PFAS could occur by drinking contaminated water, consuming fish caught from contaminated waters, incidental swallowing of contaminated soil or dust, or eating foods packaged in materials contaminated with PFAS. Absorption through skin is typically not a concern, he said. Quote, if you are exposed to high levels of PFAS, you could be more likely than the average person to develop some types of health effect in the future, he said. Updates can be found on this continued study and this continued research into PFAS in our local waterways near the Oakland County International Airport by visiting michigan.gov/PFAS response. That is michigan.gov/PFAS response. All these articles in full linked on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, where we also have those very helpful links to the CDC, the State of Michigan's Health and Human Services Department, as well as the Oakland County Health Division and many COVID-19 pages of our local municipalities. Got a great show ahead of you today. We got coming up Jeff Kimmerly from the MHSAA will join me. Then at 10:40, Sarah Raymore, otherwise known as DJ Applejuice, the founder and creator of Babe House, a national solidarity network, will join me at the bottom of the 10 o'clock hour. Then in the 11 o'clock hour, Chief Greg Flynn from the West Bloomfield Township Fire Department will join me to talk about their upcoming COVID-19 booster shot drive, as well as getting your flu shot. He will, in fact, receive his booster shot live on the air with us to begin the 11 o'clock hour. Then, 11:20, Rob Boyle will join me. He's the executive director of Furniture Bank of Southeastern Michigan. And then at 11:40, we will cap off today's show with Nasy Sankagiri, the member of the Bharatiya Temple in Troy, and Reverend Charles Packer from the InterFaith Leadership Council of Metro Detroit. That is all coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
211, how can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
How does marijuana affect the teen brain?
Our brains are still developing into our 20s.
With regular use, marijuana can affect teen brain development.
It can affect our brain's circuitry and blood flow and impair thinking, learning, and memory function,
Which could hold us back from reaching our potential.
Don't let marijuana mess with your brain.
Get the facts at michigan.gov/drug-free.
We're pleased to be joined once again by Jeff Kimmerly. He is the communications director at the MHSAA, or the Michigan High School Athletics Association, and he joins us again now on the Megacast. Jeff, thanks for being with us.
Absolutely. How are you today?
Doing all right. How are you?
Hanging in there.
Good. So we are in the thick of the fall sports season. We're nearing playoff time, or have entered playoff time in the fall season across
Sure.
the state of Michigan. It's a lot different of a situation than it was a year ago. It's still a very intricate situation. It's still complicated for athletic directors, certainly for the MHSAA as well. But are things going smoother this year than they had a year ago?
Yeah, I of course wouldn't say we're completely back to normal. Obviously, COVID is still out there, and we're still feeling the effects of that. But things are certainly different than they were a year ago. We had a number of games last year in every sport canceled because of COVID. We've still had some of those this year, but in football, which we track every result because of playoff points and postseason qualification, it's about half as many have been because of COVID this season as opposed to last season. Things Golf, for example, golf in the fall for girls for Lower Peninsula last season was a one-day tournament because we didn't want teams that had to travel far away, staying overnight, things like that. We're back to having our traditional 2-day tournament. Our boys tennis finals are this weekend in the Lower Peninsula. We're back to having our traditional format for that after changing things up a year ago as well. So we were able to get a lot of things back to, quote unquote normal. But at the same time, we're still building back up from a year ago. That took a toll on everyone in a lot of different ways, and high school athletics was certainly among those.
We're joined by Jeff Kimmerly. He's the Communications Director for the Michigan High School Athletic Association, or the MHSAA. Talking about the continuation of the fall sports season. Has yet to have any sort of a stoppage, as opposed to last season where there were multiple stoppages due to COVID-19. But like you said, things are not back to normal, and in high school football in particular, there are some similarities last year. And there was an article from MLive. Patrick Nothaft of MLive wrote an article recently about COVID's contribution to a record number of forfeits so far this season due to COVID-19 and other factors as well. It's not just COVID. So far, 74 games have been decided via forfeit, according to the MHSAA's online database. That is only the second highest single season total in comparison to, of course, last season, where there were 94 in a shortened 6-week regular season and playoff period. How is this becoming a problem? Has this been a growing problem across the state with having these forfeits going on? How may that impact the continuation of the season, especially the way that the playoffs are situated through the MHSAA?
Sure. When it comes to the playoffs, this shouldn't affect anything. Unfortunately, we could certainly have a COVID-affected situation where we have to have a forfeit during the playoffs. We had a number of those last season as well. So that's something that, perhaps we should anticipate. But these other reasons that really have contributed to probably about half of our forfeits this year, those things are usually out of the way by the time we get to the playoffs. Every year we have teams that decide, when we ask during the spring if you'll have a sport, we have teams say they will, and then they don't, because they find out over the summer they don't have enough interest for participation to be able to have a full varsity team, especially in a sport like football, where you either have 11 or 8 players on the field. It takes substantially more to field a team. So we've had a number of those this year, and that's led to some forfeits. We had 3 teams, I think, total mid-season or right before the season started, moved from 11-player to 8-player football because of numbers. And so that created a number of forfeits there as well. The teams that are receiving forfeit wins in these cases oftentimes do pursue a different game. But with schedules already made well in advance, it's difficult to do. So, as I told Patrick for that story, we have, like I just said, about half as many COVID-related forfeits as we did a year ago. But you add that into the normal stuff, like teams not having enough numbers and things like that, or teams running low on players simply because of injuries as well. That happens every season too. And that's really what's led to where we're at right now with forfeits. Do I think it's going to become a problem that does something to our season this year? No, I don't. We only have 2 weeks left of the regular season. We have found a way to award teams still that have to take a forfeit win. And we are almost to the playoffs. And after that, the teams that are struggling with numbers, for the most part, will not be participating still.
And just for reference, Jeff did mention that teams have been seeking to reschedule with other opponents in the case where they do have a forfeit happen, and in that case, that is done at the local level. That is between the athletic directors of these schools. We're joined by Jeff Kimmerly. He is the communications director at the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Something else that was referenced recently in an article from WXYZ Channel 7 TV is that games such as Mount Clemens and their varsity football homecoming game were cut short, were canceled due to referee shortages. staffing has been an issue across industries in the state of Michigan, and it really hasn't discriminated against one industry versus the other, or one business versus the other. What is the status in terms of referee availability through the MHSAA for fall sports and as we prepare for winter sports at this time?
Well, and that football game, that is really the only varsity football game that I know of that has not been able to be played this season out of about 2,100 games. But there have been soccer games that haven't been able to be played. I would imagine there are other sports that we don't have to track as closely for postseason purposes that have had to cancel events as well. We have had some football games moved to Thursdays because of a lack of available referees. And obviously COVID last year took a toll in all of our sports. In football, I just got the latest updated numbers. So a year ago, we went down about 13% in football registration for officials. We've come back about 3% from that this year, but obviously there's still a long way to rebuild. All of our sports in 2020-21 had, I think almost all of them have had some sort of double-digit decrease in officials registrations. So we are trying to rebuild those ranks, obviously. But what we're seeing with football specifically is we're at a point right now where we've still been able to cover all of our varsity games but one this season. But again, some of them have had to be moved to Thursdays. We always have some that are played on Saturdays. And what we've really lost at this point is our flexibility. Last Friday, when those storms were moving across the Lower Peninsula, I was pretty worried because I knew a number of schools would probably have to play deep into the night just so they could keep their officials for that night, because moving to Saturday is not an option when a lot of our officials are also doing college football. That's where we're at now. Our numbers are at a place where we really don't have a lot of flexibility anymore. And that goes back to our recruiting. It goes back to the work we need to do to retain officials and the reasons that officials oftentimes decide not to come back after a year or two.
And what, if already, is in place in terms of, for the hiring process, in terms of incentives, signing bonuses, other benefits that may be there for those that may be interested in joining the ranks of the referees in the MHSAA?
We do a lot of our focusing now on getting younger people involved. We have a legacy program where we work with high schools to identify students who are potentially candidates to become officials. And we do things there where we waive registration and we set those individuals up with mentors and get them involved in local associations and do some things there to create some support and some opportunity at our lowest levels of sport to get some experience and hopefully get them involved in officiating and bring them into that for years to come. Otherwise the incentives are just what you would expect. It's a great way to stay involved in athletics. It's a great way to get some exercise. It's a great way to make hundreds and hundreds of extra dollars. I know some officials who do this almost every night of the week during the spring, and it's a major part of their income. So it really is a great thing to be part of. At the same time, when we try and find out why we have officials leaving after a first year or first couple of years, we hear the same stuff over and over again. A lot of it is dealing with poor spectator behavior, especially for our young officials who are just learning and getting going in something like this. Things have just seemingly gone downhill when it comes to the treatment they receive from the stands. And hopefully people can start to realize that we are at perhaps not a breaking point, but approaching some sort of point where our behavior is going to lead to us not being able to play as much as we'd like to.
We're joined by Jeff Kimmerly. He is the communications director for the Michigan High School Athletic Association, or the MHSAA, with us today on the Megacast. And Jeff, there's been a lot of discussion recently through some viral posts and also some interesting articles and news, such as the Lansing School District raising its GPA requirement for student athletes from 1.67 to a 2.0. Being that the MHSAA understands that most of the student athletes across the state of Michigan, this is the highest level of sport that they will ever play at. There will not most students likely will not play at the collegiate level, certainly at the professional level, and that this is where their athletic career ends, but it's an educational opportunity more than anything. Are there any discussions at the MHSAA or any points of view from the MHSAA on putting a greater emphasis on ensuring that student athletes are putting a really concerted focus on their grades and improving their grades while they're in high school playing these sports?
Well, what the MHSA does is it creates a minimum where students have to pass 66% of a normal credit load in order to participate. Many schools have higher minimums than that. We give them a baseline. A lot of districts build on that. So, we anticipate that will continue. The reason our baseline is where it is because that allows flexibility to schools that do things differently all over the state. We actually had it a little bit different into 2008, and then a lot of schools began going to a quarter system instead of a semester system. And so we changed things around to go with the 66% of the credit load because that's what our schools wanted to have in order to be able to build on it and do some things. So what we have right there, again, we have the minimum that must be done that allows our schools to build on that specific to their situation. And that's what a lot of schools are doing, Lansing schools included.
Jeff Kimberly joins us. He is the communications director for the MHSAA. Jeff, just another minute or so with you before we'll say goodbye today. Is there anything else at this moment in time that people should be aware of as we continue through the fall season and approach the winter sports season, or any other information that we haven't discussed yet today?
We're just excited to get deep into the postseason with a lot of these sports. As I mentioned, golf and tennis are finishing up this weekend. As we get into November, obviously, cross country and soccer, and then volleyball and swimming and diving, and finally football at Ford Field. And, while all of this feels a lot more normal than it did, people need to keep in mind that there are some places where there are local restrictions for inside sports, indoor sports. And so they should be paying attention to that if their team is going on the road. And I think people just need to keep in mind that we have so much more even now than we did a year ago when we did take a pretty large break and have to come back in January. And I know I'm certainly not taking that for granted. And I know a lot of people in our athletic community aren't either. And so that's always going to be in the back of my mind as we go into a very busy next 6 weeks.
Well, Jeff, we appreciate your insight on the fall sports season, on some of the continued COVID-related issues that continue to affect our sports here in the state of Michigan at the high school level, and how the MHSAA and our schools are working through those issues. Thanks for your time.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council,
we work together to protect water resources for everyone.
Most of the pollution entering our rivers is carried by rainwater that runs off roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
A rain garden helps catch stormwater runoff.
Rain gardens and their plants help dirty runoff soak into the ground.
You can do your part to help keep our water clean.
Learn about rain gardens and native plants.
So consider a rain garden in your home landscaping.
Catch the runoff with a rain garden.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe, alongside studio producer and board operator Calvin Brown in our studios in West Bloomfield Township, where we broadcast live from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, Monday through Friday. You can learn more about all the places that we broadcast and the other great programming that they do and provide to their communities through the other 22 hours of the day, Monday through Friday, by going to our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you can also find all of our shows and full interviews on demand. Usually they will be posted there sometime mid to late afternoon during our regular business hours. We're pleased to be joined now by Sarah Raymore, otherwise known as DJ Apple Juice, the founder and creator of Babe House, a national solidarity network with chapters in Seattle and Detroit. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you. Appreciate you reaching out.
Absolutely. Appreciate having you on. So for those that maybe are unfamiliar with this National Solidarity Network, Babe House, tell us a little bit about the organization and the great work that you do to help a lot of people in our communities here in the Detroit area and all throughout the U.S.
Yeah, so we started off as a collective in Seattle in 2018 when I lived out there for a few years. I moved out there, tried to find myself. And long story short, I finally came out as queer, trans, and had a group of people that were also queer and trans that we were trying to find a space for ourselves, which was, basically the start of Babe House, where we all collected as friends and we started doing monthlies at a venue called Cremwork. And we just created these safe places, these safe spaces for QT, BIPOC, LGBTQ, BIPOC artists and musicians. And so I put it on the back burner when COVID hit for a little while and tried to get my life together coming back home, and then rebranded last winter during the second lockdown. And now we have a chapter in Indiana, which I have the t-shirt from the artist that we just have added to the roster, Cleaner. And so, yeah, we have Detroit with a few artists on the chapter in Detroit. And we're just trying to build more notoriety just to make sure people understand what our mission is, and to, create awareness for QT BIPOC being the center of leadership for solidarity.
And there are so many different places in society that, and so many different, especially in pop culture and music and entertainment of all different kinds, that QT BIPOC and LGBTQ communities have played such a huge role in. But like in many other areas of our society, in a way that is frankly ridiculous and should never be that way, they've been pushed to the side. Their voices have not been heard. And so it's important for communities that have been marginalized to have a place of a collective voice where they can share those experiences, because they're often just simply not being listened to in other places in society, and they need that safe space where they can communicate with one another and work through the problems that the rest of our society still has yet to catch up and say, we need to help these communities as well, because they are our neighbors, they are our friends.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's pretty much the reason why I created the organization. I think it's important that if we are trying to get through to the road to solidarity, that we consider the people who are the most marginalized, which are QT BIPOC. And this organization helps elevate those voices and elevate those lives with resources along with a platform.
We're joined by Sarah Raymore, otherwise known as DJ Apple Juice. She is the founder and creator of Babe House, a national solidarity network. You can learn more information about the organization by visiting their website at babehouse.org, where you can also learn more about their upcoming events as well as donate as well to help them with all of their programs. And so, Sarah, what are some of the programs that are provided through this organization that help to create that solidarity and create that network of communication and an outlet for people in QT BIPOC communities to communicate with one another and express themselves in a safe community?
Well, we create events. That's specifically what we do. And we do monthlies across the U.S., whether it's in Seattle or in Detroit. Slowly building more things around the country. As far as programs, we're looking for any type of alliance with other organizations that want to help us along by co-opting with other things that we could do within the community. We've worked with Ruth Ellis Center, and we've also worked with the City of Detroit. They've helped us, kind of find resources to reach out to other people who would be interested in supporting us. And the safe spaces that we create could be geared towards DIY or entertainment, nightlife culture. And yeah, we're just hoping to hear more from artists that are interested in having a platform, whether it's on Instagram, doing promotion. I do free promotion for artists. And the big thing that we're working on right now is funding for our organization so we can continue the mission and expand. So as far as that goes, yeah, that's where we're going towards right now, just so we can have more outlets in the future.
And it's so important, too, that those outlets continue to be provided and continue to be expanded, which is why it's so exciting to hear that news from you today, that an Indiana chapter of Babe House has begun as well, because especially in dance music genres, which have more mass appeal today than ever before, the QT, BIPOC, and LGBTQ communities, communities of color, have had such a colossal impact on the development of those genres of music, but are often not given or rarely, not often, but rarely are given the credit and the recognition and the platform for those kinds of music that they have pioneered and that so many people in our society enjoy.
That's right, and there's a lot of people who are involved in the culture, but that may not know that. As far as the roots of a lot of cultures, where you see rock and roll with Rosetta Tharpe, and just a lot of people who were queer and trans that created a lot of dance music, punk, things like that. So it's basically Babe House is an umbrella for all of that, where we encompass not only dance music, but every kind of genre that involves QT BIPOC artists. So.
We're joined by Sarah Raymore, otherwise known as DJ Apple Juice. She is the founder and creator of Babe House, a national solidarity network. You can find out more about this organization as well as donate by visiting their website at babehouse.org. That also has links to all of their social media, including Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and gives you an opportunity to contact them as well, especially if you are in one of these QT BIPOC communities here in Detroit, in Seattle, in Indiana, where they also have chapters are all throughout the U.S., where you can get more information about joining a network of people that have created a safe space and modes for communication and expression in our QT BIPOC communities. And so, Sarah, I just want to ask, as the founder of this organization, what inspired you to found this organization and then to continue to operate and expand it throughout the U.S.?
That's a really good question. So as far as the inspiration, it would be through moving away and trying to find myself in a community that I felt like I didn't have to mute myself. I didn't have to conform to any biases and things like that. And Seattle definitely taught me that. Seattle gave me the room to expand the way I feel about myself, being queer and trans, and knowing that they prioritize communities so much, and there's a lot of people in those communities doing the continuous work to keep evolving through solidarity, that, that was mainly, community is what really inspired me, and Seattle helped me grow into that and bring that kind of that love and inspiration to Detroit. So I, came home and tried to reconfigure my life and figure out who am I here again, and got back into tune with myself after, changes in my life. And then I just realized, during COVID, during the lockdown, it's necessary to have this work done. And not many people have the opportunity to have this kind of platform. So I decided to just keep remaining, continuing the work, and in hopes that, it goes as far as it can. So, yeah.
We're joined by Sarah Raymore, otherwise known as DJ Applejuice. She is the founder and the creator of Babe House, a national solidarity network with chapters in Detroit, in Seattle, where it was founded in 2018, and now also in Indiana as well. And Sarah, it's so important that these communities continue to expand, and that we have leaders like you in these communities that are creating these safe spaces, because for so many people in the QT BIPOC community and LGBTQ communities and communities of color, it can be so painstaking. I can only imagine, as this is that white man on the outside looking in, to take those steps to live your true self and live your true existence, especially in a world that continues to just be so cruel to these communities. So I want to give you some time to also provide some information on upcoming events and fundraising efforts, so that people in these communities and outside of these communities can provide your organization with the support that it needs to help continue to provide these opportunities for people to have their voices heard and to live their true lives.
Thank you. That was very well said. So we have a fundraiser, our first fundraiser in Detroit. It's an official first fundraiser for Babe House. It will be announced as far as the address, because it's a private location. It'll be announced on Facebook and Instagram, where you can DM us if you want the address. And it's a fundraiser to create more funding for our organization. We've never had one before, and we're trying to make the best of it. And we have about 10 QT BIPOC artists as well. And some from Seattle, some from Detroit, an Indiana artist, cleaner. So we're just trying to celebrate the livelihoods of QT BIPOC, and to be able to celebrate, coming together as a community and just trying to create some community wealth amongst each other, along with providing the work that we showcase, and in hopes, to just keep the mission going.
You can learn more information about Babe House and all their efforts, all their upcoming events, as well as many of their artists in QT BIPOC communities, and find some of their work by going to the Babe House's website at babehouse.org. You can also follow them on many social media, including Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. All of those handles are BabeX House, at BabeX House, on any of those social media platforms. And so, Sarah, before just a few minutes left with you today, and as your organization continues to inspire so many QT BIPOC voices to collect as a community, to make an impact on the greater community as well, and to provide those safe spaces and those communication platforms and those expressive platforms, I want to give you an opportunity and I want to ask, who inspires you? Who has inspired you in these efforts? People in the past, people that you have worked in solidarity with in these efforts to provide these platforms that are so important, especially in the world we live in today?
Definitely Martha P. Johnson, Ardrew Lord, Ruth Ellis, and mostly the activists that had been overlooked even in their prime, in the Black Panther Party, and during the civil rights, and Stonewall.
We're joined by Sarah Raymore, otherwise known as DJ Apple Juice. She is the founder and creator of Babe House, a national solidarity network. Learn more information about them, as well as get access to upcoming events, as well as music and other art from QT BIPOC artists at their website, babehouse.org. And Sarah, we have a few more minutes left with you today, so before we let you go, anything else that you want to say at this point, at this time, to the QT BIPOC community, to the greater community, or anything else that would be interesting or important for our audience to know about Babe House's work at this time?
I think the root of this culture, and the fact that we are all in this together, that we should consider QT BIPOC leadership as an important role and figure into the road towards solidarity.
And we appreciate it. We appreciate your time and telling us so much about your organization that in multiple cities across the U.S. and hopefully more as time goes on is making such a great impact in QT BIPOC communities and therefore on the greater community as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. You can learn more information on their website, again, babehouse.org, and you can follow them on Instagram, on Twitter, and on Facebook. All their social media platforms are the same handle, at BabeXHouse. Again, at BabeXHouse. And to learn more information and donate to their organization, go to babehouse.org. On the other side of the break, we will start off the 11 o'clock hour talking about vaccination, in particular, booster shots. We'll be joined by West Bloomfield Township Fire Chief Greg Flynn, who will be getting his booster shot live on air and talking about an upcoming booster shot clinic here in West Bloomfield Township. That is coming up next on the second hour of the Megacast.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you.
Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation.
Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanted to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
As partners working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is the source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line, for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe alongside Calvin Brown here in our studios in West Bloomfield Township, where we broadcast each and every day on a number of different community television stations, online all throughout the state of Michigan, and on your radio homes for the Megacast. 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. We're joined now by Chief Greg Flynn of the West Bloomfield Township Fire Department. He is out there at Fire Station number 1 on Orchard Lake Road, where they're currently having a COVID-19 booster shot vaccine drive-through now through 2 p.m. today. Chief Flynn, thanks for being with us today.
Tyler, good morning. It's good to be with you.
Yeah, nice to be with you as well on this sunny Wednesday morning here in West Bloomfield. So you're at the booster shot vaccine drive-through there at Fire Station 1. It's running now through 2 o'clock. Who can come to the drive-through for these booster shots? Because I know in the past at some of the other vaccine drives, you've had to sign up. Is that the case right now?
So today, anybody that is eligible is welcome. So eligibility is 6 months since your last COVID shot, and where they're just encouraging you to bring your vaccine card so they can validate that. And they'll also update and put the booster shot right on there. And they have all 3 lanes, all 3 bays behind me are operating right now, Tyler, and there's not a wait. The great thing is Oakland County has just mastered these drive-through clinics. And as quick as you're coming in, it's the same thing. They do a preliminary check-in, secondary check-in, screening for side effects, anaphylaxis, those types of things, any adverse reactions. And then you're right up to the spot where they're actually administering the vaccines. And you might notice the guy over my right shoulder, Dr. Faust, is here today, and he's one of the folks giving the vaccine boosters today.
We're joined by Greg Flynn, the West Bloomfield Fire Department Chief, on the Megacast. Today, now through 2 p.m., anyone 18 and older who received their first and second dose of the Pfizer COVID vaccine in the last 6 months may go get a booster shot if they are so willing and eligible at Fire Station number 1. So we've had some talk about eligibility for the vaccine in the past. In my notes, it's saying anyone 18 and older. Are there any specific eligibility requirements outside of course, as is listed, having had your first and second dose of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccines in the past 6 months, or is this open to anybody 18 years of age and older?
Well, clearly if they come in here, they're going to screen them, and I know that the county wants to get as many vaccines into arms as possible. So if there is any question, I just encourage folks to come down. The staff here is wonderful. They'll screen, they'll answer questions, and Tyler, they'll get them set up with, I think even if you needed your initial vaccine and you showed up here today, they're going to be able to take care of you and help you out with whatever your needs are related to COVID vaccination. This is your spot here today in Oakland County.
So, Chief, you mentioned before they need to bring their vaccine card, especially for the booster shot, so that those on site from the Oakland County Health Division can confirm that they are eligible for the booster shot, having had their first and second doses within the last 6 months. In terms of other things that people need to be prepared to bring with them, what should they have prepared, and what precautionary measures should they also be ready to take on site to, of course, prevent the further spread of COVID-19?
I had my shot just a few minutes ago and literally pulled in just like everybody else. I felt like a guest in one of my own engine houses, Tyler, but pulled right in, was greeted by staff. They, asked again, they were here for the booster shot, showed them my vaccination card. I actually lost my vaccine card, Tyler. So I had to go onto the Michigan vaccine website, and within 3 or 4 days got a sheet with an updated vaccine record for me. So I showed them that, went in, literally within 3 to 5 minutes, I was already getting my shot administered, and they updated, gave me a new card. And Oakland County's giving the card now in a plastic card protector, so that if you need it to get into a restaurant or get onto an airplane, that now you have your card in a protected case. And I think that's just another example of our county health department going above and beyond here, and really helping residents be successful as we navigate the pandemic that we're still in.
We're joined by Chief Greg Flynn of the West Bloomfield Township Fire Department with us on the Megacast at Fire Station number 1 on Orchard Lake Road, right next door to West Bloomfield High School, where they are holding a COVID-19 booster shot, a vaccine drive-through with the Oakland County Health Division now through 2 p.m. today. And so for the drive-through clinics, in the past, the process has usually been people would drive through, they'd get their shots, they'd go off to a separate area, and they'd wait there for a certain period of time just in case there are any further symptoms or side effects immediately after the inoculation. Is that the same case when people arrive and go through the process at today's clinic?
Yeah, Tyler, it is. And if I was just to pan, I don't know if you want me to, but I can pan the camera just a little bit over here to the side, and you'll see that just as we move over here, this is the waiting area that's just to the side of the fire station. We actually have it connected with a drive-through, so they can easily make it across into the waiting area. There's nursing staff over there. You might see that red bag in the shot next to that white sandwich board. That's a first aid medical kit that the nurses would use to provide care if they needed to. Sorry about that. That's they write it right on the windshield when you can leave. You back into your space. That's probably, Tyler, of all the things that are difficult about coming to a drive-through clinic, it's that backing into a parking spot over there that's probably the most challenging part for some people. But remember, we back in because the nurse can walk up and down the center of that parking lot and has a good visual on everybody as they sit in their car. If anybody has any trouble, just a simple toot of the horn, the nurse comes right over, and clearly the West Bloomfield paramedics are very nearby as well.
So a lot of the attraction of these clinics for people to get vaccinated is the convenience. They can go about getting their vaccine, getting their booster shot in the middle of their day, on the work break, on their lunch break, as they're picking up or dropping off their kids. Are other people, or if they're driving around with their pets and take them to the park, are other people or pets and so on allowed to be in the vehicle with those that are getting their vaccines today?
Oh, that's a great question. What I've noticed about this staff is they're able to pivot very quickly. I think if you have a well-behaved animal that is in the back seat and that's not within range of them, they're going to be fine. But, it's always about good judgment here. So I'm not encouraging that, Tyler. It's probably best that there be absolutely no animals in there, because you never know how your pet's going to react when they see someone, touching you and all of that. So the best practice would be to not have an animal in the car by any means. But I'm sure they've had people show up with the animals in there, and they'll assess the situation. And again, the focus is to get shots into arms. So there's other things. They can have you step out of the car, shut the doors, you can get your shot, then get back in the car. And there's workarounds for some of this, but by no means am I encouraging people to bring a pet with them. It's best to leave them at home, come in and get your shot. And remember, if they, Tyler, I don't know if I mentioned it, but if you don't have that vaccination card, they can look it up. What having all those things ready will do is just move you through the process quicker.
We're joined by Greg Flynn. He is the chief of the West Bloomfield Township Fire Department with us today on the Megacast live from Fire Station number 1 on Orchard Lake Road, right next door to West Bloomfield High School, where the fire department is partnering with the Oakland County Health Division today for a vaccine booster shot drive-through clinic that is happening now until 2 p.m. Again, Fire Station number 1, located on Orchard Lake Road between Lone Pine and Walnut Lake in West Bloomfield. And so, Chief, recently the fire department also held a flu shot clinic. How did that go, and are there plans for more clinics for flu shots in the future as we enter the flu season?
So we partnered with the Alanis Foundation, and they had a successful event as well. the drive-through setup here at Fire Station 1 with the 3 bays, with the entrance. And remember, if you're coming here today, you're going to see our friends from West Bloomfield Police Department in the center turn lane. You're going to use the north entrance, which is going to be the entrance as you're moving towards Lone Pine. And that's going to bring you in the north side of the station and come around. But that format for our flu clinics, for the initial COVID vaccine clinics, for this booster clinic, it really has worked out well. And I hear good feedback from the residents and even those that visit West Bloomfield to come here for their vaccines. You know, we had a flu vaccine clinic at the fire open house as well, because we are moving into flu season. So we keep that in mind too, as we have these 2 parallel tracks of the COVID vaccine and the flu vaccine. And we really want to make sure that we stay focused on all of that, as we all are trying to get back to that pre-pandemic way of living.
We're joined by Greg Flynn. He is the chief of the West Bloomfield Township Fire Department. Joining us on the Megacast, he is live at Fire Station number 1 in West Bloomfield Township, where the fire department, in partnership with the Oakland County Health Division, is holding a vaccine booster shot drive-through clinic now until 2 p.m. Boosters have been approved for anyone 18 and older who received both their first and second doses of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccines at least 6 months ago. There are a number of things that you should do in order to be prepared to come to a clinic, including having your vaccine card ready, or at least a photo ID, so that they can look up your vaccine information. Wearing a mask is preferred as well, and you'll be able to remain in your vehicle the entire time. And so, Chief, any further plans at this time with the Oakland County Health Division for more of these clinics in West Bloomfield at Fire Station 1 or at other fire stations across the township in the Tri-Cities?
Well, I know that they have 200 vaccines appointments for today. And I know I brought 2 of our friends from Parks and Recreation over today with my appointment. So that was 2 additional walk-ins. And they say they're getting a very good turnout. So I'm expecting there to be well over 200 vaccines administered here today, and we're only going until 2 o'clock. We will always make our engine house available to Oakland County Health as an opportunity for folks in the greater West Bloomfield area to have convenient access to COVID vaccine. So at this point, Tyler, nothing else on the calendar that I'm aware of, but I think they'll continue to see what the feedback is from the public on these. We have some good weather for the next probably 40, 45 days or so. So if something else pops up, we'll for sure let you know, and I know you guys will help get the message out. We're joined by Chief Greg Flynn of the West Bloomfield Fire Department. He is live at Fire Station number 1 on Orchard Lake Road in West Bloomfield, next to West Bloomfield High School, where they're holding a COVID-19 booster vaccine drive-through clinic now until 2 p.m. in partnership with the Oakland County Health Division. Of course, you can learn more about other vaccine drive-through clinics as well. Sign up for appointments at this and other clinics as well by going to civiccentertv.com's coronavirus page and clicking on Oakland County, and then scrolling down just a little bit down that page to their vaccine hub, or going straight to oaklandcountyvaccine.com. Chief, just a few more minutes with you today on the firefighting side. As we are now in the thick of the fall season, people are, of course, clearing the leaves out of their yards and are cleaning up their yards and getting ready for the winter. With that comes some safety precautions that also need to be taken to prevent fires and other accidents from happening in our communities. What are some things that people should be aware of, and safety precautions that they should be taking at home in order to prevent fires, but also other accidents as well that come with fall maintenance? Well, one of the things that we experienced last year, Tyler, that I think is a good lesson for everyone to keep in mind, we know that and most of our residents know that there's no open burning allowed within West Bloomfield or the Tri-Cities. So that means an open burn is an open flame that is outside. So that's just flat out not allowed in any way, shape, or form. So what we had last year, or maybe a year or 2 years ago, was somebody who thought, well, I'm going to take all my twigs and stuff and go inside and I'm going to burn them in my fireplace. That's a different kind of fire than burning logs. And what ended up happening was all of those small twigs and things that are easy to lift off got up, started a chimney fire, and started the house on fire. The best thing to do is just simply bag your yard waste and put it out for curbside recycling. That's the smartest, safest move. I was just listening to our West Bloomfield Parks, one of the naturalists, and she was even coaching me along to, just leave it out there, maybe just mulch up a little bit, but all those leaves provide habitat for all the things that make West Bloomfield so great with all of its wetlands and water and just natural beauty. So leaving it kind of just to decompose in your yard and stuff is also a fine approach to take.
We're joined by Chief Greg Flynn of the West Bloomfield Township Fire Department with us on the Megacast. Again, he is live right now at Fire Station number 1 in West Bloomfield, where they are holding a vaccine drive-through clinic for booster shots of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine for those who have received their first and second dose at least 6 months prior to today's date. That is going on now through 2 p.m. at Fire Station number 1 on Orchard Lake Road, right next door to West Bloomfield High School. Chief, anything else that would be important for our audience to keep in mind right now as we're into the thick of the fall and heading toward the winter season?
Well, just a reminder, and I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to do this again as we start approaching the Halloween season, just to remind motorists and everyone to be careful and slow down as we look at Halloween approaching and things that are, as our trick-or-treaters are going to be out there. Let's just keep that in mind. And remember, fire is a year-round fight to prevent fire, and it's everyone's fight. So do your part and help prevent fire in all shapes and forms within our community. Thanks for having me, Tyler.
Appreciate it. Chief Greg Flynn is out there at the Fire Station number 1 in West Bloomfield. Again, that vaccine drive-through clinic for COVID-19 booster shots, the Pfizer booster shot, now through 2 p.m. Fire Station number 1 on Orchard Lake Road between Lone Pine and Walnut Lake Road. That is right next door to West Bloomfield High School. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, Rob Boyle, the Executive Director of the Furniture Bank of Southeastern Michigan, will join me on the show to talk about his organization, their history, their goals, and more about this nonprofit right here in our community. That is coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
Sophia and Gabriel. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes. They stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Neighborhood storm drains carry water directly to local creeks and streams. No filters, no treatment.
Storm drains also help reduce street flooding when it rains.
So clearing storm drains and the areas nearby of trash and leaves helps keep them for rain only.
It is easy to do your part by adopting a storm drain.
Find a storm drain, check it, and clear it every month.
So keep storm drains for rain only.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe alongside Calvin Brown here in our studios in West Bloomfield Township, where we broadcast live from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, Monday through Friday on the Megacast. You can learn more information about all the places that we broadcast and find all of our content, the full episodes, and each and every interview dating all the way back to March of 2020. On our website, civiccentertv.com, just click on the Megacast link and scroll down to about midway down the page where you'll find the Watch Full Interviews and Watch Full Episodes links there. We're joined now by Rob Boyle. He is the Executive Director of the Furniture Bank of Southeastern Michigan, where they provide, has supported more than 65,000 vulnerable families across Metro Detroit, providing them with beds and essential home furniture and helping them live with stability and dignity. Rob, thanks for being with us today.
Hey, Tyler, it's great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So tell us a little bit about the origins of this organization and the work that they do week by week, month by month, year by year here in Southeastern Michigan.
Well, we were actually founded here in Pontiac in 1968. There's about 200 furniture banks across North America, and to my knowledge, we are the oldest of them all. We take in donations of gently used beds, dressers, sofas, and dining sets and other essentials. And then on the other end, we take in referrals from a network of about 75 health and human service providers. So we're providing furniture to families who are transitioning from homelessness and poverty, working with child protective services, fleeing crisis or abuse. These days, we're helping folks who've been flooded out of their homes, as well as people who have helped the United States in Afghanistan that are now relocating here to the States. You know, on an annual basis, we're helping about 2,000 families a year, distributing somewhere around 15,000 items. And yes, we've been at it for a little while, so we're at about 65,000 families and counting.
We're joined by Rob Boyle, the Executive Director of the Furniture Bank of Southeastern Michigan. You can learn more information about them at furniture-bank.org. That is their website. You can learn more information there about all the work that they're doing and how you can help them provide those services to children and families in our communities here in Southeastern Michigan, where in 2020, the Furniture Bank of Southeastern Michigan improved the lives of 2,183 Metro Detroit families, providing them with nearly 15,000 items at a value of about $747,595. So Rob, how do you collect these items? Are these all entirely through donations from people and from organizations? Or are you going out and seeking these materials? How do you bring them all in? Because to provide 2,000 plus families, 2,000 plus people with these necessities, that's going to take a lot of different materials.
You know, if it were just me, my back would be extremely sore.
That's for sure.
However, we have a couple of trucks that are on the road 6 days a week. We have a pickup service. We come to folks' homes. We'll even take furniture outside for them, so they don't bump their moldings or hurt their backs. We raise a little bit of money. I mean, we have services to help, our furniture donors remove heavy items out of their homes, and that helps support our mission. But if you call our number 248-332-1300, or if you go to the website, Tyler, that you just mentioned, www.furniture-bank.org, you can find out how to schedule a donation. And we do our best to make donating easy, because we want to make sure that kids have a warm bed to sleep in at night and they're not sleeping on the floor. We want to make sure that families have a table to share a meal on, or a parent can help their child with their homework on a table. We want people to live with the stability and dignity that many of us take for granted. You could have the nicest home in West Bloomfield or in Grosse Pointe, where I happen to live, but if you don't have any furniture in it, and you're sleeping on a floor, and you're living on a floor, and you're eating on a floor, you're going to be stressed. It's a very difficult life, and we just want to make sure that a lot of our neighbors here in Metro Detroit, can live with the basic stability and dignity that you and I have come to take for granted.
We're joined by Rob Boyle. He is the Executive Director of the Furniture Bank of Southeastern Michigan. With us on the Megacast, you can learn more information, again, on their website, furniture-bank.org. And Rob, what are some of those items that are always needed by your organization to provide these families? And in what condition and in what capacity should people across our state, and especially here in our local area, go about donating those items?
So our pickups are mainly in Oakland, Macomb, and Wayne County. We do cover just about all of Oakland County, which is, I know, where your viewers are. But we do take donations of gently used beds, and we are one of the few organizations to do that. And on any given year, we'll give out anywhere between 2,000 and 2,500 beds to folks who would otherwise maybe sleeping on a floor. And of those 2,000 or 2,500, somewhere around 1,000 of those on most years go out to kids. So donating a bed, twin, full, queen, mattress, box spring, we absolutely need those. We always need those. Dining sets, a dining table, 4 chairs. A sofa, living room furniture, end tables, coffee tables. I mean, basically, if you think for a moment and you lost everything in a fire and you had to start all over, what would you need? What are the basics? What would you want to just reestablish your life? Many of the families that we're serving, they've been in homeless shelters for a good period of time, and that's very stressful, and they're looking forward to having a home of their own. And when they go in, they realize that if they don't have any furniture, they're not that much better off. And we want to make sure that families are better off. We want to make sure that parents are getting a healthy night's rest so they can support their kids, and their kids are getting a healthy night's rest so they can do well in school. So again, if folks call 248-332-1300 or go to www.furniture-bank.org, they can find out about making a donation. And we ask that things are in good condition, or as we like to say, gently used. We're not able to accept beds that are stained or torn, or furniture that is structurally damaged or torn or stained, or if Fido or Tabby have had a little bit too good a time on the furniture, unfortunately, we're not able to accept that either. But if it's in good condition, we absolutely need it for local families, because we have a lot of folks coming to our doors.
We're joined by Rob Boyle. He is the Executive Director of the Furniture Bank of Southeastern Michigan, joining us on the Megacast. Again, their website, furniture-bank.org, if you want to learn more information or set up a donation with them as well. And then, Rob, you have an upcoming fundraiser on November 4th at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle in Royal Oak. Tell us a little bit about that event and how it's going to benefit your organization.
That's our comedy night fundraiser. This will be the 11th year that we've held it. It's actually, we did not have it last year for the COVID reasons, but we're thrilled to be back at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle on Thursday, November 4th. And it starts at about 6 o'clock with some dinner. And then after that, you have the pleasure of sitting and listening to or experiencing, some first-rate comedians. And this year we've got a gentleman, Rocky Laporte. Second time he's been with us, and he is remarkably funny. He was a finalist on Last Comic Standing a few years back, and just a really talented guy. And we're really fortunate to have him. Tickets are $60 each, and you can actually find them at our website, www.furniture-bank.org.
We're joined by Rob Boyle. He is the executive director of the Furniture Bank of Southeastern Michigan, joining us on the Megacast. That event, again, at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle on November 4th, 6 p.m. until 9 p.m. Tickets are $75 each and can be purchased online at the Furniture Bank's website, furniture-bank.org, or by calling the Furniture Bank at 248-332-1300. That is 248-332-1300, extension 206. Another way you can get tickets and learn more information is by sending an email to events@furniture-bank.org. And so, Rob, at this point in time, right now, at this point in the year, given that you are approaching the end of the year and they're still providing these materials to families, right now, what is the most important item or items of need for donation to your organization to continue to provide these services to children and to families in our local area?
You know, Tyler, as I said, we always need beds. For some strange reason, we've always been, or as of late, we've been short on dressers. If anybody has dressers in good condition, please give us a call or go to our website, because we have families that absolutely need them. I will say right now, we're still a little busy, so we're scheduling about 3 weeks out. I think it's important to let your viewers know that sometimes it takes a couple of weeks before we can come out, but we absolutely need these items, and there are absolutely families that need these items. The eviction moratorium that was going on for well over a year is now expired. We've had a lot of folks here in Metro Detroit who've been flooded out. And as I mentioned, we're trying to resettle people who helped us when we were in Afghanistan. And for these reasons and just general poverty that still exists in our region, there are a lot of folks coming to us, and they're referred by agencies that are trying to help them in other ways. So yes, dressers, beds, dining sets, sofas, just the basics, because we want families to live with stability and dignity. And it's really, really important that they have a house that they can feel good about, or a home that they can feel good about.
You can learn more information and donate to the Furniture Bank of Southeastern Michigan by visiting their website at furniture-bank.org. We're joined by Rob Boyle, the Executive Director of the Furniture Bank of Southeastern Michigan. And Rob, just a few more minutes with you before we'll say goodbye today. Sure. Any other information at this moment in time that would be important for our audience to know, or anything else that would be interesting that may be coming up in the future that our audience should be keeping an eye out from your organization?
We always want to help more families. We help about 2,200 families a year, and that really doesn't even scratch the surface of need that exists here in Metro Detroit. We could really easily double that number or even triple that number. So it's our hope that we can continue to grow over the years. Between the years of 2014 and 2019, we've doubled the number of families that we serve on an annual basis. And, maybe within the next 5 years, we're going to be able to double that again. And again, it's critically important that folks have a home that they can feel good about, that they can feel rested in. So, like everybody else, they have a chance at success in life. And that's really, really important.
Rob, we appreciate your time. Thanks for telling us more about your organization and previewing that fundraising event coming up on November 4th at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle in Royal Oak.
Tyler, I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You can learn more information about the organization, donate, and get tickets to their November 4th, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. event at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle in Royal Oak by going to their website, furniture-bank.org, or by calling 248-332-1300, extension 206, 248-332-1300, extension 206. We're going to take one more break, and on the other side, we'll be joined by a couple of people, Nasy Sankagiri, a member of the Bharatiya Temple in Troy, and Reverend Charles Packer from the InterFaith Leadership Council of Metro Detroit. That is coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Parents do a lot of worrying. Get your kids caught up on childhood vaccines to protect them from these 14 preventable diseases, and you'll have 14 fewer things to worry about. Vaccines are safe and effective and save lives. So let's get caught up on vaccines and worry about something else. Get the facts at ivaccinate.org.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Most of the pollution that goes into our rivers is carried by rainwater that flows off of roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
The leaves and bark of a single tree can retain a surprising amount of rainwater. Depending on its size and species, it could be 100 gallons or more.
It is estimated that an urban forest can reduce annual runoff by up to 7%.
Here's one thing that we know can help keep our water clean.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior.
These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance.
They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different.
One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games?
Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Today, it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keith, alongside studio producer and board operator Calvin Brown in our studios here in West Bloomfield Township, where we broadcast live from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, Monday through Friday, here out of our studios and all across the Oakland County area and across the state of Michigan. Find out more about all the places that we broadcast live and live to tape on our website, civiccentertv.com. Click on Megacast, and there you'll find all the information on our partnering television, radio, and web outlets, as well as where you can find all of our full episodes and interviews on demand. With just about 20 minutes left in today's edition of the show, we're pleased to be joined now by Nasy Sankagiri, a member of the Bharatiya Temple in Troy, and Reverend Charles Packer from the InterFaith Leadership Council of Metro Detroit on October 21st at 6:20 p.m. in conjunction with the InterFaith Leadership Council of Metro Detroit. Nasy will guide visitors on a tour and discuss the philosophy, deities, and rituals of Hinduism at the temple in Troy. It is actually founded in 1977. It is the oldest Hindu temple in the state of Michigan. Gentlemen, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you.
Appreciate having you on.
It's good to be with you.
Now, let's start with you. These will be guided tours. It's going to be on Thursday at 6:20 p.m. What can people expect to experience at the temple on these guided tours, and what can they expect to learn about Hinduism and about this historic temple here in our local community?
You can actually see the exterior of the temple in my virtual background behind me. It's a very impressive structure. This particular program on Thursday, October 21st, I have specially designed it with the help of my colleagues at the Outreach Committee at the Bharatiya Temple. I volunteer as the chair of the Outreach Committee. It's a total 2-hour program, so we will welcome the visitors, and we gather in a classroom setting, and I will provide not exactly a lecture, but definitely an introduction to the basics and philosophy of Hinduism. Because going into the ritual worship space, the sacred space, won't make a lot of sense to non-Hindus without this grounding, without this introduction. Even when I take in, or my outreach colleagues, we welcome any visitors like school groups, college groups. That's why we insist on a guided tour, so that a trained and knowledgeable guide is available to them to explain things properly, and also answer any questions they might have. Even though the temple is generally open for public to worship, people who want to come as visitors for a learning opportunity, it is suggested that they're accompanied by an outreach guide. On October 21st, for this program, I have designed it so that first we meet sort of in a classroom setting where we have a conversation about the basics and philosophy of Hinduism. That will go on for about 35-40 minutes. And after that, we will go into the Sanctum Sanctorum, where the murtis, the sacred deities, are consecrated, and where the worship happens on a daily basis. Our priests will be on duty, and it is actually operating time for the temple, so the visitors may expect to see a few regular devotees visit the temple and go through their worship process. We will introduce the various murtis that are consecrated in the temple and talk about some of the legends associated with these murtis. And then it's a time for conversation to answer any questions. I also expect to have some members of the temple leadership as well as my outreach colleagues available to answer any questions. So I am trying to get a couple of our young people to provide an example of the devotional musical offerings that usually take place at the temple. That's not 100% confirmed at this point, but we may have that as a little bit of a pleasant surprise on the day. So that's the overall setup for the 21st.
So this is in partnership with or in conjunction with the InterFaith Leadership Council of Metro Detroit. So I want to bring in Charles Packer from the InterFaith Leadership Council to join us as well. And Reverend Packer, is this tour something that's going to be more common across different faiths in our local area here, as we do have a whole host of different faiths with different houses of worship in the Metro Detroit area? Is this the first of one of these, or is this part of a continuing program through the Interfaith Leadership Council?
That's an excellent question, Tyler, and my answer is yes. In both senses. The Interfaith Leadership Council has provided educational opportunities sometimes similar to this one that we will experience tomorrow evening in the past for a number of years. And in some ways, this is a really new thing. One of the big reasons why I would say that this is a really new thing is that this is the first in-person event that the Interfaith Leadership Council has held since COVID-19 really came upon us. We've had several virtual programs in the last year and a half, but we just felt that it was time to try to introduce in a very safe, protected way the community back into in-person engagement, to actually be able to see and to be able to hear and observe and experience another religious tradition, or a religious tradition that is alive and vibrant in the metropolitan Detroit community. So we're really excited about this, as though it's a very brand new thing, even though we've had the religious diversity journeys for children, seventh graders, in which they do many of the things that we'll do when they would take field trips to various religious sites around the area. But we're really focusing this, the subtitle of this event is Hindu Practice in Context, or Hindu Tradition in Context. I think it's practice, because we're really observing the practice. We want to actually not just talk about Hinduism, but actually be able to in some way experience what Hindu devotees experience when they come to the temple. So I'm just really excited, very grateful to Nasy's gracious invitation to host us, and for him bringing his expertise to us and their whole outreach program made available to us. So in a sense, it's a new thing. In a sense, it's a continuation of the mission and work of the Interfaith Council. We do hope that this is the starting point of a new sort of series that will get people back into these places and spaces of worship and prayer and devotion. And we want it to have that sort of that experiential, practical orientation to it.
We're joined by Nasy Sankagiri, member of the Bharatiya Temple in Troy, and Reverend Charles Packer from the Interfaith Leadership Council of Metro Detroit. And Reverend Packer, we'll get back to Nasy in a moment here, but I want to ask you, why should people that are outside of the Hindu faith in our local community, why should they be interested in attending this tour and engaging with this other community of faith in our local community and learning more?
I would say there are two major reasons that I would say, just as I think about that question, and that is, first of all, we probably know Hindus, even if we aren't sure we do know Hindus, because it is a significant there is a significant Hindu community in metropolitan Detroit, and they contribute so much to the life of Metro Detroit and are involved in so many different professions, and they are living and worshiping in their tradition, and also living among all of us. And we're it just helps to know our neighbor, and we need to know our neighbor better. And I think that's probably the second reason that we've been living in a period of time in which we've had a lot of walls put up, whether it's because of COVID and distancing, but also just society in general, and some of the ways in which we've just been divided. And the InterFaith Leadership Council wants to bring people together. And this is a tradition that perhaps not a lot of people know about. They've heard of Hinduism, but they haven't seen a Hindu temple. They haven't been inside of it. They haven't seen the devotional practices, worship, if you will, heard the songs and the prayers, the arti. They have not necessarily been acquainted with this tradition. And so it's a really great way to learn more about our neighbors, our Hindu neighbors, in a very direct way. So I'm very excited to have this opportunity and to make it available to the wider community.
We're joined by Reverend Charles.
Tyler.
Yes, please, Nasy.
If I may offer an extension to excellent answer by Charles there. I have, in my role as the chair of the outreach here, I have had a very close association with and involvement in the programs introduced and run by InterFaith Leadership Council. They do an excellent job in the community of bringing the various faith communities together. And they have played a very constructive role at particularly painful moments in our country's and our locals' history in recent times over the past decade. And Bharatiya Temple is probably the first Hindu temple to welcome the school children from the Religious Diversity Journeys program. We have been hosting that for a number of years now, pretty much from the start of that program. And I personally benefited a lot in participating in several educational programs. One was actually moderated by my friend Charles here, in which I participated as a resource person to talk about Hinduism. And I also attended several programs and lectures at the Sikh Gurudwaras, at local Muslim mosques, and at the local Jewish synagogues to learn about those various faiths. And the connections formed through IFLC helped us to build further relations with a number of churches and their pastors and their congregations also. So it's a very valuable institution and a very valuable programs for the community. And I really encourage your viewers to utilize this opportunity. There is still room on this October 21st program for people to register and utilize this opportunity to learn about Hinduism.
So we're joined by Nasy Sankagiri, member of the Bharatiya Temple in Troy, and Reverend Charles Packer from the InterFaith Leadership Council of Metro Detroit. And just a few more minutes. So Nasy, I want to ask you, because people during these tours, which will happen on October 21st at 6:20 p.m. The program 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. at the Bharatiya Temple in Troy on October 21st. They will be entering sacred areas where deities are worshipped, and whenever you go into another place where you are outside of that community, you want to be making sure that you are mindful of the customs of those communities. What should people be prepared for as they do enter the temple for these tours and go into those sacred areas, so that they can be respectful and properly join in to the sacred nature of those areas?
Excellent question, Tyler. First of all, I want to remind everyone we are still in the middle of a pandemic, and the temple is taking all precautions related to that. So everyone who enters the temple's doors must wear an appropriate face covering, a mask. So this is essential. And within the temple, again, follow the guidelines for social distancing. And the temple provides ample supply of hand sanitizers at various locations. So those precautions are in place, number one. Number two, you're absolutely right. It is a sacred space, and there are a few guidelines to follow for everyone, including devotees. One is that while we enter the actual sanctum sanctorum, we need to remove our footwear. And since it's already kind of getting cooler, I suggest people wear socks and to keep them protected and keep them comfortable. But that is only for the actual sacred worship area. The temple is a big structure. It's more like a complex. So for the rest of the spaces, people can continue to wear their footwear, not a problem. The second thing I request is that while we are in the sanctum, like I said, the temple is open for worship to regular devotees. So you will observe that people come in and continue their worship. So be mindful of that and not be, inconveniencing them in any way. Usually, myself and my outreach colleagues are trained to handle that. So we'll be there to guide you. So not to worry about it. Other than that, really, nothing much more. Let me just say that Hindu worship is very sensory. You will hear sounds, you will smell things, you will feel a lot of things. So my suggestion to the visitors is open up your senses and take them in, because I hope it will be an experiential experience.
Nasy, thank you very much. You as well, Reverend Packer, for joining us and previewing these tours. Again, October 21st, 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at the Bharatiya Temple on North Adams Road in Troy. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you, Tyler. It's our pleasure.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. That is going to do it for today's edition of the Megacast. A big thank you to everyone who joined us on the show, including Nasy Sankagiri from the Bharatiya Temple in Troy and Reverend Charles Packer from the InterFaith Leadership Council of Metropolitan Detroit, Rob Boyle, the Executive Director of the Furniture Bank of Southeastern Michigan, Chief Greg Flynn from the West Bloomfield Township Fire Department, Sarah Raymore, a.k.a. DJ Applejuice, the founder and creator of Babe House, a national solidarity network, as well as Jeff Kimmerly from the Michigan High School Athletics Association. You can find all of our interviews and more information about everywhere that we broadcast by going to our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast. There you'll also find all of our full interviews and episodes on demand. Those are usually posted there and available for viewing by about mid to late afternoon during our regular business hours. Highly suggest you also go over to civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, where you can find more important and accurate information about COVID-19 from resources at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the State of Michigan's Health and Human Services Department, as well as the Oakland County Health Division. And that's also where you'll find some of our top headlines each and every day making news in Oakland County and throughout the state of Michigan as well, and find local resources in the Oakland County area regarding COVID-19 from many of your local municipalities to figure out how city business in your hometown is affected by the pandemic. Big thank you as well to our crew, Calvin Brown right here directly next to me within reach at Green Media Center, over to my right, our studio producer and our board operator, and way out there over on the other side of Woodward in Troy, our booking producer and Zoom producer, Larry Nyland, getting all of our guests booked on the show for each of our time slots and preparing them for their interviews each and every day. Over here on Civic Center TV, coming up next, it is The Splash with Maddie Mustian, and over on My Michigan TV, it is, of course, Steve Leto live from 12 noon until 1 p.m. And then here, we will be back tomorrow morning live for our regular shows from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Until then, we thank you for joining us. This has been the Megacast.